If you're thinking of moving to South Carolina, there are a few things that you must know first, from property and vehicle taxes to hurricanes and flood zones and cost of living. Today, we're going to cover all of that practical knowledge. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. As always, I'm your favorite YouTubing Charleston Realtor, Bill Olson, and today we are covering practical knowledge that you need to know when moving to South Carolina. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to talk about today is property taxes. Now, I mention this a lot in my videos because it is something that you need to know. I'm not going to go into great detail today, but I'm going to toss a link below. Basically, what you need to know is that while we have extremely low property taxes, they are assessed at different rates for primary and non-primary residences. Now, the difference can triple your taxes for non-primary. So when you purchase your home, you'll need to apply for that lower 4% rate to ensure you're paying the least amount in property taxes. Now, this isn't hard to do. It's basically just proving that you're living there as your primary residence. So within the first month, you'll need to switch over your car registration, voter registration, driver's license, and anything else that's on that application, and you should be approved with no issue. And you can make your taxes even lower if you qualify for that homestead exemption. Now, this is a complete exemption on the first $50,000 in fair market value of that legal residence as a homeowner. Those who qualify are individuals that are totally or permanently disabled or legally blind. And if you're making this move for retirement, you may also qualify, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit when I get into the retirement benefits of moving here. Staying on taxes. This is something that surprises most people, and it's the personal property or vehicle taxes. Now, while we're the sixth in most affordable real property taxes, we rank 48th in vehicle taxes. Now, we're one of only 27 states that does collect taxes on motor vehicles. Now, before you can transfer your title and registration to South Carolina, you've got to pay this tax to the county treasurer. Now, motor vehicles are valued in accordance with nationally recognized publications of value. And with the depreciation of value for motor vehicles, unlike your real estate taxes, your vehicle taxes are likely to go down each year. So if you're buying a new car, be prepared to get that higher tax bill. Now, what does this look like? Well, in an article published by the Greenville News, based on a best-selling new car valued at $24,000, South Carolina residents paid on average around $650 a year. Other states that collect vehicle taxes, they were just under $450. If you have a car with high mileage, you could be eligible for a high mileage discount, so contact your county treasurer to see if you qualify. Now, this all may seem like a lot, but in my opinion, for whatever that's worth, paying a few hundred per year in vehicle taxes to save thousands on your home's property taxes is a pretty good trade-off. Now, moving along with the vehicles, we have the drivers of these vehicles. According to a few studies from smartasset.com and Quote Wizard by LendingTree, South Carolina was ranked in a tie for 7th with Texas on one and 10th in the other for having the worst drivers in the country. Now, according to these studies, South Carolina had the most fatalities per 100 million vehicle miles traveled at 1.83 and around 4 DUIs per 1,000 drivers. When it comes to driving habits, we were 5th worst in getting the most citations and 4th in the most accident-prone states. Now, along the same lines, and I know there are many contributing factors that go into car insurance, but according to insure.com, South Carolina has the 9th highest full coverage premiums in the country for automobile insurance. Now let's move away from taxes and let's talk about living along the coast, kind of like I am here in Charleston. Now, the two main things we're going to talk about are hurricanes and flooding. Now, are they both an issue to be concerned about? Yes. Are they as big of an issue as most people make them out to be? I don't really think so. So let's start with the bigger one, the hurricanes. I don't like them. I'm afraid of them. In my first hurricane, I forced my wife to evacuate. I think it was only a Category 1. May have just been a tropical storm when it got here, but it's scary nonetheless. Now, no matter where you move, whether it's South Carolina or another state, you've got to deal with some sort of natural disaster. And while hurricanes can cause significant damage, when it comes to the safety of you and your family, the fortunate thing about hurricanes is that it's like being stalked by a turtle. You normally have plenty of time to prepare your home or evacuate before it actually arrives. Now, if evacuating is the option you choose, make sure you know your evacuation routes. I'll put the link below to all the different routes so you can see where those take you. And always remember, you're not the only ones evacuating, so traffic can get pretty hairy. Just give yourself plenty of time to get to safety. I know here in Charleston, they've been known to reverse I-26 so that both east and west sides go towards Columbia to ease that congestion and help ensure the safety and a quick evacuation route of residents. Now, hand in hand with hurricanes does come the flooding. Now, contrary to popular belief, especially here in Charleston, every time it rains, we aren't sitting on our roof waiting to be rescued by a guy in a little boat. And with that being said, flooding is an issue and a concern in some areas, but it's not fully widespread. Most of what you see is downtown in the historic district, where a simple high tide can flood some streets, but doesn't really pose a danger to the homes. Almost the entire coast of South Carolina is in some sort of flood zone. The most common are X and AE. X is the lowest risk, and flood insurance isn't required by federally backed mortgages, where AE is the lowest risk that does require flood insurances. Just because you're in a flood zone doesn't mean that it does flood. It just defines if there is a risk and what that risk is. If you want to see what flood zones are in your area or the area you're moving to, the best resource is straight from the FEMA website. And if you want to know what zones a home or neighborhood is in here in Charleston, just shoot me an email or text and I can look that up for you. Otherwise, I'll post that FEMA link down below. Now let's get into a little bit of good news. When it comes to the cost of living, South Carolina actually ranks about 6% below the national average and right in the middle of all the states. So this may be a surprise to some, especially here in Charleston and other coastal areas. But one thing to remember, which is especially true here, and as a good rule of thumb, is the further inland and away from the beaches you get, the more affordable homes become. Here in Charleston, just a 15-minute drive can cut your housing costs almost in half. As a state, we have an average home price right around $200,000. This is due to many rural areas and small towns throughout the state where it's much lower than that. Moving towards the coast, however, we see that raised significantly. Charleston County had a median sales price of $427,000 in 2020. Further inland, in Richland County, that's where Columbia is located, the capital of South Carolina, there's a median home price right near that national average of only $182,000. Through the third quarter of 2020, it is good to note that only Charleston County had a median home price above $350,000 in the entire state. Now, apart from home prices, South Carolina is also in the top 10 for the cheapest gas prices. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to get into retirement just a little bit. Now, if you're planning your move as a retirement move, then here's some good news. In South Carolina, you aren't taxed on Social Security retirement benefits. Plus, there's a $15,000 deduction for seniors receiving any other type of retirement income. On top of this, If you're over 65 and have been a legal resident of the state for over 1 year, you could qualify for that homestead exemption that I mentioned earlier. So there you go, folks. All the practical knowledge that you need if you're planning a move to South Carolina. If you have any other questions, drop them in the comments, shoot me a text, email, give me a call, throw up the smoke signals, whatever your preferred method of communication is, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.